Hey guys, it's time to Nephis and chill, and today we're going to be going over the newest item sets coming to ESO with update 35, and also other itemization changes with update 35 because there's a lot. And of course, as typical of quarter 3 DLCs for The Elder Scrolls Online, we receive a minimum of 6 dungeon sets, 2 monster sets, and nowadays 3 rewards for the worthy sets from PvP. You can see all of these new item sets and other item sets, affected item sets from update 35 in our item sets database on eso-u.com, where we have the latest tooltips, and we do have a surprise for you in the coming days with a scalable tooltip. But yeah, more on that later. So let's go over the new item sets first, and these are coming from the 2 new dungeon DLCs, or DLC dungeons. First one being Earthenroot Enclave. The Stone's Accord, it's a light armor set, adds max magicka, adds healing done, max magicka, and the 5th piece bonus says, on heal with an area effect, apply minor berserk and minor resolve to healed allies for 4 seconds. If a healed ally already has minor berserk or minor resolve from Stone's Accord, restore 550 magicka. The restore can occur once every 5 seconds. The medium armor set from the dungeon, Rage of the Arsok, reads 2-piece item set, 1487 offensive penetration, another line of penetration, critical chance, and the 5th piece bonus says, when you deal damage with a heavy attack, create a 12-meter area for 12 seconds that grant empower to allies inside, increasing the damage of their heavy attacks against monsters by 80%. This effect can occur once every 8 seconds. The heavy armor set, Deep Root Zeal, gives you stamina, health, and magicka max stat lines. In addition, 5th piece bonus, when you deal direct damage to a taunted target, restore 525 stamina and magicka. This effect can occur once every 2 seconds. The monster set from Earthenroot is going to be Archdruid Deverik, and it gives you offensive penetration with the 1 piece. However, with the main 2 pieces equipped, when you deal damage with a heavy attack, after 1.2 seconds, you deal shock damage to up to 6 enemies within a 7-meter cone on your target, applying major vulnerability to them for 7 seconds, increasing the damage enemies take by 10%. This effect can occur once every 15 seconds and scales off the higher of your weapon or spell damage. The second dungeon that's coming out, Graven Deep, has 3 new item sets as well, along with a new monster set. First, the light armor set, Graven Inevitability, sorry, tongue twister right there. Critical chance, weapon and spell damage, critical chance, and the 5th piece bonus says, dealing damage with a light or heavy attack grants you a stack of remorseless for 5 seconds, up to 5 stacks, up to once every half second. While you have 5 stacks, you generate an aura of focus, granting you major force, increasing your critical damage by 20%. While you have an aura of focus, allies within 12 meters gain minor force, increasing their critical damage by 10%, so sort of like the major force version of Kinraz's Wrath, which grants major berserk. Phylactery's Grasp, the medium armor set, gives you weapon and spell damage, critical chance, and the 5th piece bonus says, on light attack critical damage, you apply Withered Soul, dealing disease damage over 10 seconds. On Delayed attack critical damage on an enemy with Withered Soul, restore 575 stamina. Withered Soul can occur once every 10 seconds, and the damage scales off the higher of your weapon or spell damage. The heavy armor set from this dungeon, Pancrit Deadmother, reads 4% healing taken, armor, health recovery, and a bonus 5th piece bonus is 1890 max stamina, and the actual 5th piece bonus is, when you block, you and up to 3 group members within 12 meters gain minor courage for 10 seconds, increasing your weapon and spell damage by 215. This effect can occur once every 5 seconds. So this is kind of like the more, I guess, if it were possible, the easier version of Yonakrin. But of course, you know, it's only for a total of 4 people rather than a total of 12 people. And of course, the monster set, you fought a Gatekeeper. We have the stamina recovery bonus, but in actuality, the 2-piece bonus is, when you use roll dodge, create a Hadalid Husk after you roll. While within 5 meters of the Hadalid Husk, it will absorb all direct damage attacks against you. After 1 second, the husk explodes. dealing poison damage to all enemies within 5 meters. This effect can occur once every 20 seconds, and scales off the higher of your weapon or spell damage. Lastly, at least for the new item sets, we have the rewards for the worthy item sets being added with update 35 from PvP. First one, light armor set, Langur of Periite, gives you weapon and spell damage, critical resistance, offensive penetration, and you deal 6% increased damage to blocking players. When you deal light attack damage to an enemy that is immune to crowd control, apply Langur for 10 seconds, reducing their magic recovery and stamina recovery by 248. This effect can occur once every 10 seconds. The medium armor set, Nocturnal's Ploy, gives you offensive penetration, critical resistance, and stamina recovery. When you apply a major debuff to an enemy, remove a major buff with a duration from the target. When you apply a minor debuff to an enemy, remove a minor buff with a duration from the target. These effects can both occur once every 15 seconds, and the target can be affected once every 15 seconds. This does not apply to the abilities with delays, and this was toned down incredibly so from the PTS cycle, because before it was toned down, it was incredibly strong. And lastly, Mara's Bomb, a heavy armor set, adds armor, adds critical resistance, adds healing taken. When a negative effect is removed from you, restore 2,111 health. When you take damage and have 6 or more negative effects, cleanse all negative effects. The effect can occur once every 15 seconds, and as most of you know from my previous video covering this set, it is absolutely OP. And with the bi-weekly incremental coming up, they are going to be adjusting the set, just a heads up, at least for PC. So for other itemization changes, we do have the fact that charged was reduced in terms of its value, down from 480% to 365%. The crushing a wall, that's mouse from staff, was also changed, and I made a whole video about that if you want to check that out. Master's Resto now restores 224 magic and stamina 4 times over 6 seconds rather than 117 magic and stamina 5 times over 4 seconds. And this is actually a slight buff. And for the Maelstrom two-hander, it was basically kind of nerfed as well in terms of the 53% nerf to damage done per tick. Also no longer stops refreshing early when using in tandem with Stampede. And it now deals its damage for 10 seconds, up from 7 seconds. The Maelstrom Bow was also affected by Update 35, where we saw an increase in the damage per stack to 191, up from 143. The Blood Moon set now increases the damage of your light attacks by 2,050 while active, rather than 55%. Iron Blood was also kinda nerfed / adjusted. Apparently it was granting too much as an item set, and now just grants major protection, major aegis, and minor protection for 10 seconds when it activates, rather than reducing your damage taken by a unique 30%. That unique 30% damage mitigation was a bit too much, according to the developer comment. They also reduced the snare potency of the set to 25%, down from 50% snare, because as both the player and dev will probably see it, it's just not the buffs given, so the 30% unique damage mitigation is just not enough, so why even have such a punishing snare? They also reduced the cooldown, however, of Iron Blood to 10 seconds, down from 15 seconds. Just like Blood Moon, and just like what I'll read for Undaunted Infiltrator and Weaver, the Noble Duelist Strike set now sees a flat scaling of light and heavy attacks against monsters by 2,110, rather than increasing their weapon and spell damage scaling. Savage Werewolf now only procs off of light attacks when you're within melee range of your enemy, instead of light or heavy attacks from any range. This set now ticks once every 2 seconds instead of 1, to reduce situations where it could tick twice instantly. Note that it will continue to tick instantly upon application, which is intended. And there's a whole developer comment spiel about how it was working and how it was working too well. And for the Sergeant's Mail, this set has now been reworked to grant you a stack of Sergeant's Focus for 5 seconds whenever you deal damage with a heavy attack, increasing the damage of your heavy attacks by 645 per stack. And this effect can occur once every half second and stack up to 4 times. For the Undaunted Infiltrator on Weaver, these sets now increase your damage done with light and heavy attacks against monsters by 1645, rather than increasing their weapon and spell damage scaling. Kargada fixed an issue where the set's damage was not properly increasing with AoE augmenting effects. Baron Thirsk, the other monster set for MyC, there was an issue where it wouldn't proc with certain AoE abilities. And of course, Oaken Soul, the mythic that everyone was talking about prior to update 35 because it was bound to be nerfed, was nerfed, but is still usable to a lesser degree, but still usable, and now grants the minor versions of Courage, Berserk, Force, Protection, and Heroism, rather than the major Courage, Berserk, Force, Protection, Heroism. Now, they also gave minor Mending, Slayer, and Aegis, as well as Empower. There's also a known issue that will probably be fixed with the prior mentioned bi-weekly incremental, that the Empower buff will currently fall off after your character dies, and has to be re-equipped after death to get that Empower buff back. So, that'll be fixed. There's a developer comment on this that you can read on the website as well. Dark Conversions increase the cooldown of this set to 25 seconds up from 15 seconds to help reduce the frequency in which it can introduce ultimate-like effects to the battlefield. Hrothgar's Chill, this set's damage can no longer be blocked. Plague Break was also apparently overperforming to a degree, and now has a cooldown of 20 seconds per target. And they also did nerf the damage over time of Plague Break by approximately 48%, but now it can critically strike, even though, so increase the damage by explosion of Plague Break by approximately 3%. The damage from the set now always applies the disease status effect, and they also fixed an issue where it was not proccing off of some direct damage abilities, although we don't know which ones those were. 3 more things. Powerful Assault. They increased the duration of Powerful Assault to 15 seconds up from 10 seconds, which is great, which actually does reflect the overarching changes for Update 35 in regards to durations of abilities. They also increased the radius from 10 meters to 12 meters, which is slightly noticeable, but not very. Arms of Reliquin, they fixed an issue where the visuals just weren't appearing. Mantle of Sororia, it definitely got buffed noticeably, and maybe used in some cases. I also made a whole video on the uptime from the backboard and stuff like that for PvE scenarios that you can check out. Reduce the duration and cooldown of the set's AoE to 8 seconds, down from 10 seconds, to help it be slightly more mobile in encounters where you need to move. They also increased the weapon and spell damage per stack from 52 to 63, and, and this is my favorite part, they replaced that Max Magicka stat line for Sororia with 129 weapon and spell damage, making it a bit more, for sure, potent. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video, guys. Thanks for listening, thanks for watching. I really appreciate every single one of you that do. But yeah, again, there's a lot of changes with Update 35, and there's bound to be more changes with Update 36, so keep an eye out. Like and subscribe to stay up to date with the Elder Scrolls Online and its combat system that I'll be covering much more intensely. But yeah, stay safe, have fun, and see you guys next time.